What's up, guys? Back at you with another video. I'm sure you guys were wondering, where was my review, where was my recap for the latest episode of Titans? I got swept up in life a little bit this weekend. You know, I had to go to an Aquaman screening. I had a bunch of other things that were going on. I just didn't physically have the time to set up this review, to get in front of the camera, to actually talk about this episode. So I know I'm a few days late, bear with me, but here are my thoughts on episode 10, right before the season finale that comes out on Friday. Remember, in the very last episode of Titans, or at least the episode a couple of episodes ago, before we spent last week's episode on Hank and Dawn, end of that episode, Raven was trying to help Starfire get her memories back, and she touched her head, and Starfire kind of went apeshit. She grabbed Raven, she started choking the shit out of her, and she started burning her, basically. We finally get some follow-up on that cliffhanger in this week, so we start off this episode with Starfire, again, going apeshit and grabbing Raven and choking the shit out of her. And all of a sudden, that transitions into a dreamlike state for Raven, where she's all of a sudden wandering around in this empty hospital. Then all of a sudden, she sees Hank and she sees Dawn in a hospital room. And she tries to reach out to them. She tries to ask them for help, crying out for help. This is obviously what we saw in the reflections in the mirrors in the last episode of Hank and Dawn. They were seeing Raven's face popping up in the episode, and she constantly was yelling out for help. The only real issue with this is that I'm not entirely sure why it randomly went to Hank and Dawn, like why she didn't ask for help from somebody else. I'm not really sure what this has to do with the story yet. Like, it kind of feels random, like, oh, she just pops into their dreams, and then she's like, hey, help me out. We also don't know yet what this has to do with Jason Todd. Because if you remember, at the end of that episode, after Raven was able to get Dawn's attention in one of those dreams, she woke up from her coma in the hospital and she dumped herself into Hank's arms, and she was like, hey, we need to find Jason Todd. Rachel's in trouble. We don't yet know what that has to do with anything, and we don't yet know why she randomly went to this dream with Hank and Dawn, but whatever, I'm sure we'll find out in the season finale. So because Corey goes apeshit trying to attack Raven, everybody else goes apeshit trying to defend Raven. Beast Boy tries to intervene, and he is overpowered by Corey. She throws him, and he actually gets to bump into Dick and Donna, because Dick and Donna finally showed up on the scene ready to do some shit. This is one of the brief, really awesome moments in this episode that you kind of wish lasted a little bit longer, but you understand why it didn't, because budget and time constraints and all that shit. Donna wraps up Corey with the lasso of persuasion. She's like, hey, you need to calm down. Starfire does not calm down. She instead tries to fight her off a little bit. Donna gets to pull her with the lasso of persuasion, and then she gives her like that one-shot hitter-quitter kind of thing. One-shot hitter-quitter, and then it was like a suplex where she like body slammed her into the ground. It was kind of awesome. Again, I do wish we had seen more of that. Corey wakes up. Obviously, everybody in the house is a little bit froggy, a little bit jumpy, because it's like, okay, you did try to kill Raven just now. What's up with that? Corey is a little bit embarrassed, and she's ashamed of this because she's like, I love Raven. I would never try to hurt her. What are you talking about? Did I really do that? This is the part of the episode where Corey's memories start popping back in, and then she runs outside. Dick and Donna follow her, and she's like, okay, well, something's clicking, and I need to go figure it out. And so she gets in a car and she drives away. And Dick and Donna follow her, thankfully, using some kind of Wonder Woman gadgetry for one of her stars or whatever. She's able to track the truck, and so they get in a car and they follow Corey. Meanwhile, at the house, everybody else is trying to pick up the pieces, and Raven and Gar and her mom, they're just kind of chilling at the house, and that's pretty much all they're doing. I'm not gonna lie, the stuff at the house is probably the least interesting elements of this entire episode. I feel like not a lot happened until like the very end of the episode. It feels a lot like a time waster. Raven pretty much spends most of this episode feeling sorry for herself. She gets a pep talk from her mom. She gets a pep talk from Gar because she accidentally snaps at him because, again, she's feeling sorry for herself. And outside of that, the only interesting element of the things that were happening at the house is that Gar kept getting visions of that guy that he ate a few episodes ago in Asylum. Gar has unfortunately gotten like the short end of the stick when it comes to actually exploring his character and fleshing him out. I feel like Dick Grayson has really received top billing in this show, and then everybody else trickles down. This is the interesting part of those scenes. It's kind of like Gar being tortured and haunted by these images and the memory of eating that guy as a tiger. I'm like, okay, we could go somewhere with this. They don't really go anywhere with it. He just kind of gets sick, and then he's almost dying later on in the episode. But again, most of this feels like a time waster. However, when we cut to Dick, Donna, and Corey, this is where most of the interesting shit in the episode happens, because this is where we finally get some exposition about the big bad of the series. First, you got that really cool big sister, little brother conversation between Dick and Donna, where she's basically like, yo, Dick, your dick gets you into a lot of problems nowadays. She essentially says that Corey can't be trusted. I don't know why you trust her. It's probably because, you've already clapped the cheeks. In fairness to Dick, when you look at Corey, I mean, she's an alien princess, and she looks like a complete dime piece. So it's hard to really think that he wouldn't want to trust someone like that. It's the power of pussy, man. Never let anybody tell you different. Pussy legitimately runs the world. It controls us all in one way or the other. When we catch up with Corey, we get the second most badass moment of this episode. Again, it's a brief little moment, but it's just, It just made me cheese so much watching it. So Starfire gets kind of defensive when she sees Dick and Donna roll up because she doesn't know who Donna is. She obviously doesn't really remember the encounter that they had at the house. She gets kind of defensive because, you know, that's her Dick. I mean, her and Dick were still a thing, or kind of sort of still a thing. They just kind of took a break. Okay, her saying it's her Dick is kind of like a double entendre. I didn't mean it like that. It just meant that, you know, obviously her and Dick are supposed to be a thing. So she gets kind of defensive. She's like, who is she? Donna replies with a badass attitude. She's like, I'm the one that knocked you the fuck out. To which Starfire is basically like, oh, okay, you knocked me out. Get froggy, bitch. I bet money you ain't gonna do that shit again. I bet you. Pull up, nigga. Pull up. What's up? What's up? Okay, she didn't actually say it like that, but that's just the way that my stupid ass brain interpreted it. So I was ready for round two. I was ready for Donna and Starfire to get into another round of fisticuffs, or, you know, whatever the hell they call it when two superpowered people throw down. Don't lie, you wanted that shit to last the rest of the episode, just like, okay, well, maybe it's just me, but I wanted that shit to last the rest of the episode. I would have been perfectly fine watching it. But again, budget, time constraints, we can't really focus on a fight between Donna and Corey. So Dick is kind of like, ladies, we need to wrap this up. There are more important things going on. To get inside the warehouse or the facility that Corey has led them to or whatever, we find her alien ship, and it's kind of cloaked or whatever, but she seems to get some of her memory back the longer she is here. Seems to recognize the ship the instant that she sees it, and you can tell during this scene that a lot of her memories are starting to come back to her piece by piece. When they get on board, this is where we get the big exposition dump about Trigon. There's this little display in the middle of the room that shows a bunch of notes, and it shows Trigon's image too. It shows him as like this big ugly ass demon. Pretty sure this is also the first time that Trigon's name has actually been mentioned in the show. Like, I could be wrong, but I feel like they've mostly just referred to him as Raven's father for the entire show. So this might be the actual first time that we've heard the name Trigon actually being uttered by anybody on screen. And you get some background about Corey and why she came to Earth in the first place, why she was looking for Raven. Turns out Trigon is an interdimensional threat, and he has been going planet by planet, consuming it with his darkness. And he has threatened her home planet of Tamaran. And so she came to Earth looking for Raven because Raven is the gateway to which Trigon can come back to this world. And if she doesn't kill Raven, then basically her home planet is screwed. Again, it is just kind of your stereotypical exposition dump. It's really good to know a little bit more about Corey and why she came here and what her whole mission and purpose was. I do think there is one unanswered question I have with this though, which is they didn't really explain why or how she lost her memory. Am I to take it that that car accident that she was in the very beginning of the series is the reason why she lost her memory and forgot all of this? She hit her head too hard, super strong alien. She probably taken hits way harder than in life. She even forgot her name because of all this shit. I don't know, maybe they'll answer this question in the season finale, but I was just one of those little questions that I was watching this episode and I was just kind of like, wait, are they going to answer? Oh, okay, they're not going to answer that. Okay, well, we can move on then. We have to cut back to the house because some real shit is going down at the house. Turns out Gar is dying, Raven is desperate to save him, and her mother, surprise, surprise, is actually an agent for Trigon. It kind of is implied that she was always with Trigon and that she's always been waiting for this day to bring Trigon back to this world. And I don't know if that's actually the case because that would open up a can of worms on the entire show's existence and certain plot points that the show has used to advance the story. Several points during this season all of a sudden wouldn't make as much sense and there would be a whole bunch of unanswered questions about that organization that was after Raven in the first place. And I'm gonna let it go for now because I feel like maybe they'll answer these questions in the season finale. But the point is, Raven gets desperate, her mom manipulates her. The guy that shows up to the house, the sheriff that she flirted with earlier in the episode, he shows up at the house trying to get a booty call, he gets stabbed for it. Poor guy. Once again, just goes to show you that pussy runs the world and it's a very treacherous bitch sometimes when it wants to be. Raven reaches into a mirror as she becomes the gateway and out comes Trigon. And Trigon is just a creepy, pasty-skinned white guy. They can't go full CGI demon yet though, so that kind of makes sense. But either way, Raven has Gar back, but now Trigon is here. And then Dick, Donna, and Corey show up to the house, and Dick runs inside, but then Donna and Corey are not allowed to go inside. Based on the preview for this week's episode, the season finale on Friday, it looks like Trigon's gonna be mentally doing some things with Dick, because they set up the finale to be a Robin versus Batman type of episode. Remember when that first happened and people saw the preview, people were losing their minds. They're like, oh my god, why is Batman such a crazy-ass murderer? Did Zack Snyder direct this shit? This episode was kind of a mixed bag. There's definitely a lot more filler. There's some unanswered questions. There's some gaps in the writing. But in general, they did a great job at building to this. They did a great job at setting up Trigon for the season finale on Friday. And I, for one, can't wait to see how it all turns out. Guys, those are my late thoughts on episode 10 of Titans, the penultimate episode of the season. Let me know what you thought about the episode in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show. And as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel. And stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.
I see that look in your